What is up, guys? Ivan here with getivan.com, and in this video we're going to be looking at a Quora question, very long question. How many keywords is ideal for SEO? I have heard 10 to 15 is optimal. However, will 20 plus be a significant negative impact? Also, if I have a double keyword such as secret cinema, does this count for two keywords even though it is one phrase? Okay. So let's look at some of these answers and then I'll give my answer. This guy says you need to focus on 3 to 5 keywords, then optimize your content with your selected keywords. Don't stuff your keywords. That's a pretty good answer. I wanted to see what this guy says. This guy says to stop using Google Keyword Planner. If you're targeting fitness as a keyword, you're targeting market. If you're targeting workout for beginners, you're targeting a niche. Fitness has a difficulty level of 85. Workout for beginners has a difficulty level of 18. Which level do you think will generate a better indexing for Google P1? So he's just making the argument for long tail keywords versus, short keywords. This kinds of answers are the reason that so many people are confused about SEO. He's trying to sound clever, and he should just say, you're not going to rank for something like fitness, but you can rank for some more, complicated phrase. But you have to do your research and find something that's a little more complicated that has a range of permutations in terms of complexity. And that would essentially be my kind of advice, without looking at a bunch of other answers. Is so you're talking about, I don't know what the deal is with secret cinema, but the idea is like you can focus on one or two keywords. I think, like, because when you are really trying to build a page, you want the on-page criteria, you want that on-page content to really signal to Google, this is what this page is about, and this is the kind of thing we want to rank for. The same thing happens off-page. And so you want to pick a longer phrase, right? You want to pick, ideally, a longer phrase that has a significant amount of volume, but that also has, a couple dozen other even longer or variated types of phrases that include that longer phrase. And so if you're focusing on that particular phrase, then you can include one of a variety of different articulations, as long as it is not inorganic. Obviously the bigger the piece of content, the more you can justify it, but it has to make sense. You don't want to do something super spammy. So something that might make sense would be, here, let me open up a tab here. How to plant pine trees. And so how to plant pine trees, right? So then you might have different variations of that, like how to plant pine trees in the winter, in the summer, spring. And you see, these are all taxonomies. So if you wanted to do schema on your page where people could click on the navigation and it scrolls down to that section, then that's even better. Your content could be something like how to plant pine trees year round or seasonally. And then you have little chunks that describe each of the seasons, and then all of those things can have different taxonomies, right? So that would be a just totally random off the top of my head example of, like, this is a long tail phrase that has, maybe, seasonal applicability with different volume, right? And pardon me, if you do that kind of navigation, you could probably rank for some of those long tail expressions pretty quickly. So that would be a pretty good example of pardon me, of a way that you could do it, where you're picking a core term, but then you're breaking it apart into other sections. So and this is also a good way where you only have to do like, 300 words or a couple hundred words for the first section, then the second, the third, the fourth. And the more that you break it up into different H tags, then, and you just do a little chunk for each section, it becomes really easy to create a very authoritative, robust piece of content. And you're not really, trying to sit there and figure out how to write 1,000 words on one single topic. Like, it's much easier to break it up. And when you break it up and you set H tags for each of those, and you find keywords with volume and you set H tags for each of those things, that's how you create a very authoritative piece of content. So hopefully that answers your question. It's not about a particular number because it's going to vary based on content size, and the content size is obviously going to vary depending on the quantity of topics that you actually have to. That's kind of almost a little bit circular, but not exactly, because when you pick a particular phrase, then you want to find things that make sense on the same page. You don't want to keyword stuff like that other guy was saying, but like when they're super topically relevant and along the same lines like that, then if you just wrote one little snippet on how to plant pine trees, it's still going to rank for all those other articulations, right? Eventually, the difference is that when you create those specifics on that page, it's going to rank a lot faster for those specific queries. Pardon me. And when you start getting click throughs on those other SERPs, it's going to there's like a cascading effect. It's going to make it quicker and easier for you to rank that page to rank subsequently for all of the other things along the way, especially for the root phrase. So a bit of a winded explanation there, but that's pretty much it. That is how many keywords is ideal for SEO. I had to give an it depends answer, but it does. There are a few variables you have to decide in those variables. And then depending on what you're basing it on, that will actually determine how many keywords you use. Like if you have a mega piece of content, then you could use a lot, but you also have to decide, like, is it better to do all these different terms and phrases on a single page, or is it better to break them up? Like in some cases, you might want to do a long tail post on something that maybe is not exactly like you might find a keyword out there that's like how to transplant pine trees, how to transplant pine trees in the spring or something, right? Maybe it's absurd to plant pine trees in some sort of season. And so you could say, okay, well, I might put that on that same page, or I might do a separate page, and then I might internally link to my how to plant pine trees page. Like in some cases, it might be better to do a specialized page internally. Like I feel like it's usually better to create a taxonomy of content, because when you separate pages, then you have to have internal linking going to those pages, or you have to do dedicated link building. So it's much more expensive to have a variety of pages. Like there's an argument for, okay, you want to have like this diversified content base, and especially for like long tail posts that are ranking and then doing internal linking and sending, like as you're getting trickles of traffic to some of those pages, then it does boost the overall authority of your site. Like there's a good argument there. There's people have done a lot of case studies to show that that works, right? But at the same time, I also have to make the argument that, certainly without internal linking, like when you build links and you accrue authority to a particular page, like you definitely have to make sure that you have internal linking going to other places, or it's going to be a whole lot more expensive to scale your link building efforts to be able to build the authority of that asset in a significant way to more significant properties. So hopefully that's not too confusing, but basically I feel like it's better to consolidate the authority of your pages as much as possible, because then it makes those pages more powerful in terms of ranking for a variety of things. Obviously you don't want to be spammy, you need to be topically relevant, but it also makes the link building a lot easier. It makes it a lot more fruitful when your budget is going to very specific places. See what I'm saying? That's a lot easier to achieve rankings in that way. So that's definitely a more, I guess you could say it's a technical / on-page thing where you have to really think about your site structure and your content structure. Um, you can certainly just blog and blog and blog and blog, and as long as you're internally linking to some more authoritative place, you're going to be okay. But Anyways, that's that's a very long-winded answer, and that's all I have to say about that. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you.